Good evening and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. I am Aaron. Once again, I am going to be your game master. We are back to a wonderful free league game, Dragonbane. Hope you caught our first episode 2 weeks ago where we did some character creation, and then we jumped into a hot air balloon with a Professor Diggs and fought off some harpies. So we're going to go around the horn. We're going to introduce all of the characters. I'm just going to randomly pick on players because that's just how I like to do it. If the player did not roll to increase their skills using their experience ticks at the end of last session, go ahead and do it after you introduce your character and let us know if you managed to increase any of your skills. If you already did it and you want to mention any skills you increased, fantastic. After we reintroduce ourselves to our motley band of anthropomorphic heroes, we will dive into a quick recap, and then we'll see what kind of trouble these guys can get themselves into. So let's start out with Long.
Hey, I'm playing Stormhand, a lizard person, adult, gluttonous. He's a weathered face, like he's been shedding, but the skin there hasn't really been peeling off. And I am a animus mage. So I'll go ahead and skill up some points from last session.
And for the people watching, if you're not sure how it is if you get a tick mark next to a skill, you roll that skill, and if you get greater than your current skill level, that skill goes up by 1, and then you erase the tick mark. Unfortunately,
I rolled my first dragon, so it doesn't advance.
It does not advance. Does not advance.
Go for beast lore.
Also does not advance.
I also failed it. And my last one, myths and legends. Hey, I got 1.
Fantastic. So your myths and legends go from 6 to 7. Which makes sense. I mean, this might be the first time you ever ran across harpies. You're a lizard person from the swamps and bogs, and harpies usually hang in higher places. So this exposure may have helped you get a greater understanding of them. So that kind of makes sense. We're going to slide away from our gluttonous lizard person mage Stormhand, and we're gonna find out who Melissa is playing.
So you slid from one gluttonous character to another.
I like to keep this.
So I am a exactly cat person merchant. Primary note of appearance is a bit of extra weight around the middle, and weakness is gluttonous. I had 3 that I rolled at the end of last session. Bartering was a nope. Myth and legends was a nope. But spot hidden did improve.
Wonderful. All right, Kipser, tell us about your satyr.
My satyr is Dinus, and she is a mariner. So she likes to run around with a bit of a trident. She has the weakness of greed. She wears kind of a lot of bright yellow colors, a stripy shirt like a proper pirate mariner should, and definitely isn't here for adventure and all of the party's treasure.
Wonderful. All right, then, Ashley, you're up.
My name is Absu, and I am an archivist. I'm a Karkon, and that means I'm kind of bad bird person, Ian the cat. I hate sleeping indoors. It's not cave-like enough. I love trees. And Absu has different colored eyes and black fur, heavily furred body. That's Karkon. And I rolled for staves, failed. Sneaking did increase by 1, and awareness as well.
Fantastic. Last but not least, Jeff.
Hey, yo, my name's Sagalahop. I am a frog person of considerable musculature, and I am a knight, and I am sworn to protect the lizard guy up there, ensure he doesn't come to harm. I am a bit reckless, however, and prone to picking. I don't really like when people pick fights with me, so I overpick them back. So I'm kind of reckless. I got a scar on my face. And I carry like a big thing of like petrified wood that I smash people on the head with and then I got like a tiny little turtle shell thing for a shield, and that's how I protect them. And you would probably imagine, considering my personality, that I didn't advance my intelligence, myths, and legends last time. But you would be incorrect, as I did in fact do so. And that's my guy. That's Sir Galahop. I don't remember what I was doing. Something like that. I think I was trying to do like a Stallone thing.
All right. So for everybody, obviously, you may be looking at all of our kin going, I have no idea what you people are talking about. That's because most of our kin, I think all of our kin, are actually from the bestiary, which came out a little while ago, the rare kin options. So definitely, if you get a chance, check it out, because it really adds a lot of flavor to the game, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So we don't really know exactly how all of this group came together, but once upon a time in a land far, far away, deep to the south of where they currently are, they heard rumors of a place, a misty vale that had recently been opened up as orcs moved out. And they heard legends of a great war between an old elder demon and dragon riders, and the fall of this demon, and the rise of this great dragon knight, and then his death and entombment with a magical sword somewhere within the Misty Vale. Something about that entire legend sparked an interest in our band, and they began to make their way north. Perhaps we'll find out how they all came together on the road, but when we found them, they were already traveling as a mercenary band, so to speak. They came over a hill only to see a burnt down giant workshop and a man, a dapper man with slicked back hair and a mustache twirled up at the corners, wearing a nice vest, digging graves. They went down, they approached him, they spoke to him, they helped him. And they found out that his name was Professor Oscar Diggs, and that a long time ago in another land far, far away, he had been a professor of natural sciences and engineering, a discipline that none of you are actually familiar with. And then his best friend had been a professor of applied thaumaturgy, and that they had heard legends of a great lost city made entirely of green glass. They did their research. They found it fascinating. They both decided that they would go there and prove that it was either a city made of magic or a city of great engineering feats. Then they decided to make a bet to see who could get there faster using their own expertise. And so the race was off. They went back and forth. Some leading, some falling behind. But unfortunately, Professor Diggs came up with a marvelous idea to create a lighter-than-air ship, a giant balloon. And that by using that, he would be able to get far ahead of Professor Ozymandias. Well, Professor Ozymandias found out about it, and in his jealousy and the hatred of the thought of of losing to his friend / nemesis, perhaps at this point, he set and summoned demons who attacked the workshop and burnt it to the ground. Though he did not have enough control over the demons, and they also killed the assistants of Professor Diggs. So now it's no longer a cheerful race, no longer even an enjoyable race. Now it's simply who is going to get there first and claim the prize. Professor Diggs, realizing that he was going to need help, realizing that he was probably still within range of his old friend's magic, he pressed upon our group to work for him and help him as he flew this balloon over the mountains and into the Misty Vale, where he was to meet with an alchemist in the trading village of Zarbul, where he would get a unguent that would allow he would be able to spread across the balloon to increase the durability of it and make it inflammable for the long journey onto this great hidden city. They agreed for 8 gold pieces apiece after some savvy bargaining, and they took to the air after disassembling their wagon and putting it in this large basket with them. There was reason to fear, as Professor Diggs had assumed, because not long after they were attacked by a flock of clearly ensorcelled harpies who fought to the death in an attempt to strike at Professor Diggs or destroy the balloon itself. But the team was able to fight them off, even though there was one person who fell outside of the basket but was able to hold on to a cable and not fall to her horrible death in the mountains far below. Everyone regrouped, and the group continued on in this hot air balloon. And that we're going to pick up 2 days later. So they've been traveling for 2 days. They've had an opportunity to rest, bandage themselves up, recuperate, throw off any debilitating conditions that were affecting them. Professor Diggs has assured everybody now that they've made enough distance, that they are where they're at over the mountains now. There's no way that Professor Ozymandias could catch up at this point. So what we see as you pass over the mountains, the Coomer Mountains, which is the south border of this misty vale. In the far distance, you can see another mountain range, barely at the horizon, which you know to be, based on maps that you've seen in the past, the Dragonfang Peaks. When the mist parts a little bit, as you're looking into the valley, you can see remnants of an ancient road system. You can see hollows and passes through the mountain. And as you'll start to crest the mountain and start to make your way down the northern slope and into the vale, you start to see areas of dense old growth forest and then near the Coomer River, this large river that cuts across the vale. You can see what looks like a couple of large lakes, and then a vast wetland off to the east. It looks like there may be a village off in the distance, or at least you can see smoke curling up, but that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for a very particular trading post, the trading post of Sandro the Everlasting. And as you are slowly flying your way along the mountains, along the north side of the mountains within the vale, sort of kind of traveling east as much as you can to keep with the winds, you begin to see a large hill in the distance, and then you realize that this hill is actually moving slowly. And the closer you get, you begin to recognize that it is, in fact, an enormous tortoise walking along the paths, along the sides of the mountain. And on this great shell, there are circles and spirals of a village. Behind the shell, there's an entire wagon train, maybe 50 wagons following behind in its wake. Some simple outboards, some elaborate, almost homes on great wheels being pulled by 6 or 8 oxen. There are people walking along beside it, all doing their best to stay close to Sandro the Everlasting. And in the distance, you can see, coming from in front of Sandro and off different paths, you can see small merchants, some traveling in ones or twos, approaching Sandro, falling into line with the wagon train. But at this point, you don't really know how it works. Why don't you all give me an awareness check?
It's a big fat fail for Galahop. Not even close.
Does anybody who failed want to push their roll at this point? It's pretty early in the night, but
nah.
No.
Good.
I passed.
All right, so for those of you who passed, everyone else, you're just sort of stunned by this. I mean, this animal is the size of a good-sized hill. You have never seen anything this enormous. Its eyes are bigger than wagon wheels as its head slowly moves from side to side. And there's clearly, those of you who are of amphibian stock, I mean, there is a clear kinship with this being. Those of you who succeeded, though, in looking closer at the village that is on the shell, you do notice towards the edge of the shell, towards the rear, right over the back legs, you see two large, looks like winches of some sort that you would see perhaps at a dockyard or a port for loading cargo into a ship. And they appear to have incredibly large cages on them, basically the size of the basket you are in right now, which, as you recall, is big enough for your wagon, your animals, your gear, Professor Diggs's gear, etc. And then also at the front of the shell, near the front legs, there are two much smaller elevators or lifts. So you would assume probably any cargo that is moved in the back, and any people who want to gain access go to the front of the animal, unless they're obviously traveling with their cargo.
Professor, we can land there. Why not the landing zone?
Well, that's a very good point. Well, here's the thing. My understanding is from the individual who told me about this an amazing. I don't even know, words fail me. They said that Sandro will walk for about 12 hours every day, and then he stops and he sort of settles down and tracks his legs, and then he rests for about 12 hours every day. And apparently when he rests, that's when you can get up on the shell if you got business up there. And that's when people from the wagon train will interact. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't realize this wagon train was going to be quite as big as it is. So I'm a little concerned because I might have to land the balloon there behind it with all those others about. And, well, as you all know, this is a fairly unusual craft. And, well, I got a favor to ask you, my friends, if you're willing to hear me out. I wasn't They told me that Sandra was this giant tortoise village. I just couldn't fathom it, but I think I'm going to need some additional assistance. I was wondering if I give you each 2 more gold coins, total of 10. If a couple of y'all will stay with the balloon after we land, make sure nobody messes with it, and then the rest go with me up to the alchemist shop so I can finalize my business with the alchemist. Then I'll give you 10 gold pieces. We can meet back down at the balloon, and then I'll let you go about your business, obviously, with my great appreciation and respect. Is that something y'all might be interested in?
I'm always happy for a little bit more gold.
Well, that's fantastic. Glad to hear that.
I have to see this place. I would not stay back. That would be missing the opportunity of a lifetime.
Well, I have a feeling. I mean, this should only take me a couple hours, and it'll be stopped for about 12 hours. My understanding is as long as you are in good standing with Sandro, you can go up and down as many times as you want. So I think everybody will get an opportunity to go up. Whoever wants to go up first with me, though, I would greatly appreciate it. But I would really appreciate if someone would stay with the cart. And it might be better off for you anyway to have somebody also staying with your wagon and your animal too. Don't know that you want to have it lifted up onto the shell. I hear that's quite expensive to take goods up and down. I think people are pretty cheap, but goods, I hear, is somewhat costly.
Some will stay. Absu will stay.
Well, I greatly appreciate that, Absu.
Wherever
I'm hungry. I'm going first.
Wherever Clucker Hiss goes, I gotta go too. We're a team. Ain't that right?
Yeah, Galahop. You think this guy's your cousin?
Well, see, I was thinking, you think he's gonna get, upset if he sees my shield? And he's got like that spiked turtle shield, the turtle shield thing. He's not gonna I didn't kill a turtle or nothing. I just purchased it.
Roll me a myths and legend. Anybody who wants to, in thinking about this.
Oh dear, I definitely.
See if you've heard any legends about any of the great tortoises.
It's a 2 under 11.
8.
That's a pass.
All right.
I'll think with him.
Oh,
Yes,
8. No, fail.
You can push it if you like.
He can't see you behind his back.
What are you talking about? He's got he can move around. Don't you know when you got something crawling on you? You know it's there, and you reach back or something. What if he does that and suddenly he just sweeps us off the sheet, off his shell, takes out half the town? I don't want to be the cause of a calamity.
Those of you who have passed with their myths and legends feel that although you've heard legends that these enormous tortoises are clearly related to normal tortoises and turtles, that their awareness of the real world is not, it's almost like they are dreaming about the real world and living in their dreams. So they don't really interact too directly with, unless they get directly interacted with, they don't pay that much attention to those who are on their shells, which is why villages in the past have been built on them, because there is a certain amount of protection, obviously, but it doesn't seem, so you find it unlikely that Sandro is going to care about a tortoise shell shield.
So as long as I don't draw attention to myself, everything will be fine. Okay.
Just fine.
I'm gonna live forever.
So while you're having this discussion, you actually see the tortoise stop, and this huge dust cloud floats up around it, and then he just sinks down. His shell sinks down. It's still enormous. I mean, it's basically goes from being a walking tortoise to being a stationary large hill. But as soon as that happens, you see the wagon train, they get a burst of speed, and certain wagons, go as quickly as they can, at breakneck opportunities to get up close to the elevators, and others, they kind of stay back, and you see them circling wagons, and you almost get sort of a carnival feel. There clearly are people in this wagon train who just do business from the ground, and spend their entire time down here. But while you're seeing all this going on, Professor Diggs brings the balloon in, is letting the hot air out, and slowly you guys sink to the ground. And you can already see there's got to be 40 or 50 different kin of all races. They are just goggling at all of this. They're keeping a fair distance, but I mean, they're basically formed this giant horseshoe of humanity around the balloon as it's landing. So
we have an audience.
Yeah, I was sort of afraid that might be the situation. That's why I wanted a couple of y'all to stay back. I've heard that certain of the laws of Sandro the Everlasting are still enforced amongst the wagon train, but I don't know how true that is. But I have a feeling if a couple of y'all stay back, probably be all right. But two or three of you willing to stay back for the first bit until I get this alchemist sorted?
What do you say?
For a bit of extra coin.
What do you say, Stormhand? We staying back.
The others already offered. We should get on.
We gotta go. Wait, who's staying? Absu? No, okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Professor Diggs looks slightly concerned, but he's like, "Well, I'm absolutely sure that'll be fine. And if you want, while you're watching the balloon, and you see as he's talking, he's walking around and staking it into the ground. he's like, y'all can feel free to, if you want to take your wagon off, you can, or you can wait till we get back. I will absolutely lend a hand in that as well. So that would be your call. But with the rest of you all ready, let's go ahead and make our way. The faster we get this taken care of, and the faster I get my way back in the air, well, the less chance that Ozymandias is going to catch me again. So,
Absolute makes a display of like stretching out their wings really far, and as she's like staring down this audience, and then she just kind of settles in a crouch on like the edge of the basket. As she just sits there in kind of a very gargoyle like stance, and then she makes this really nasty kind of like hacking growl as she settles in and just stares unsettlingly at the people that are looking at the hot air balloon.
And after about a couple of minutes of this, they start looking around nervously and like, oh, I don't know what the hell's going on there. That's just I don't even know what and they start walking off. A couple of wolfkin, they stay a little longer and they're sort of assessing things. They don't look like they're thieves. I mean, these look like warriors, but they're interested.
And Aptu will nod at them for like staying.
And they give a little grumbling growl in the back of their throat, nod, and then they eventually walk off too. The only one person who approaches you is a very short, chubby halfling. He's got to be in his 60s. He's got short gray hair, only on the sides of his head. The top of his head is bald. He's got a little bit of chin whiskers, but clearly it looks like he's been trying to grow a beard on his chin, but it just has never happened for him. And he comes strolling up to you, and he's got some sort of, it looks like almost like somebody pulled a drawer out of their, out of chest of drawers, and he's got it across with a strap, and it's in front of him. And he walks up towards you. He's like, well, I don't think I've ever seen anyone like you, but I have a feeling you might like a candied apple. And he reaches into this drawer and he pulls out, looks like a giant apple covered in chocolate on a stick.
Of course, this looks absolutely lovely. I will take 2.
Well, that's just going to be 1 silver for 2 because you're such an interesting individual.
I sometimes folks say interesting, and they mean that it is something that they don't like. I assume that's not what you were inferring.
No, I meant that you don't see many cat folk here in the Misty Vale, at least not that I've seen, and definitely no cat folk with wings. So, or bat cat folks with wings. I apologize, sir, ma'am.
Apsu is absolutely no help and lets him stay uncomfortable.
So I just wanted to welcome you to the wagon train and to Sandro, and show you some of our local fare. And he hands him over. He's like, and I've got a little wagon in the back there. I make confectionaries. So anytime you get a sweet tooth, come see me.
Who sells books?
Oh, hold it. Your feet. I forgive me. I thought you were a god animal of some sort. I'm so embarrassed. Here, and he gives you a chocolate candied apple for free. He's like, I am so embarrassed. Books up on Sandro's shell. There's the monastery. So I think the mage priests have books. They have a library, and then the general store and emporium, I think, might have some books as well. Then, of course, the alchemist has his own sort of books. And then if you go to the inn, Miss Kitty, she doesn't have a lot of books, but she's got a little bit of a library in a back for, scholarly types when they come to stay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I again apologize for misunderstanding your ascensions.
I am Absu. And
it is a pleasure to meet you, Absu. I am Humphrey,
Excellent.
And I said, that's my confectionaries over there.
Well,
I'm sure you're going to have several other people come up and say howdy.
I hope that everyone else isn't going to be just here to slackjaw. That is quite rude. And so she had paid for two, and it really was quite rude. And she's just going to take a third just because, like, rudeness tax.
He's like, okay, give me go ahead and give me a barter check.
Okay. So I'm trying to roll under 14, 10.
Okay. He's like, well, of course, Miss Clara, an extra apple for someone so interesting, and anytime you come on by, and I'll make a special deal for y'all. And he quickly turns now with the remaining apples and walks away. And then we're going to transition. We find ourselves up at the front legs of Sandro as Professor Diggs and Stormhand and Dionyse and Galahop have made their way up to the elevator. There's an individual standing at there. It looks like a young human boy, maybe 14 or so. He's like, "Are y'all looking to go on up then?"
That's right.
Well, all right. There's 3, 4 of you. We have to wait for a couple more. Gotta have at least 6 to go up. But them's the rules. I don't make the rules, but that's Constable Roscoe likes to keep things orderly. So
we've got time to spare. Clara, you took those apples because one's for me, right?
And Clara was just like, she just sort of like had them between her and she'd bitten off out of 2 of them, and so she takes the last one and hands it over to
well, you guys are back at the balloon, so they're nowhere near you. So just you and Absu are there.
So Clara was going with Galahop and Stormhand. We were the 3 that were going.
Son of a biscuit eater. Okay. We'll work that. So before you left, you got the apples and Dionyse and that. No, that was my bad. So Clara, Galahop, and Stormhand, you are at the basket with Professor Diggs. A couple of more people come up. You're ushered on to this contraption. It's made of it looks like actually, Galahad, and Stormhand, you would both recognize it. It's bamboo. It's bamboo from probably a marsh area. Very
nice.
Thick bamboo.
This is some good craftsmanship.
It is excellent craftsmanship. And then it begins to lift into the air. Now, you guys have been flying for 3 days now, so it's not all that unusual for you. But you see the 2 people got in with you. This appears to have been their first trip. It's a couple of elves. And they're clutching the side of the rail and looking a little pale. It only takes a couple of minutes, though, and you get to the top of the shell. And the little basket opens up, and as you walk out, you see standing right in front of you is a dwarf. He's a pretty large dwarf, though. He stands about 5 feet tall. He's got a little bit of extra weight in his gut, but he's got thick shoulders. And he's wearing a strange brimmed hat. He's got an eye patch over one eye, and he's smoking a cigar. You see he's got sort of a trench coat on, and it's covering some studded leather armor. Pinned to the coat is some sort of sigil or badge in the shape of a star. And he walks up. I'll show you a picture of him.
Galahop's gonna get into position, like just in front of Stormhand, just in case, doing his job, just making sure.
Oi! First timers, listen up. I'm Constable Roscoe. I am responsible to brief you on the trading post of Sandro the Everlasting, explain to you the laws and how the laws work here, and then provide you any guidance that I can. I've been the constable here on Sandro for, just shy of 60 years. I know his shell as well as I know the back of my hand. To begin with, you are on the outer rim. The outer rim of Sandro is, you could say it is the carnival section. It is where the traveling people set up their games of chance, gambling halls, fighting cages, and the like. None of them permanently live up here. They travel back and forth between the wagon trains. Some of them are up here all the time, but they run it all. The law still applies, but I don't get down here as much. Obviously, also on this level, you have all 4 of the elevators. So if you've got goods that you need to bring up, that's the rear elevators. That's going to cost based on what you're bringing up. It's a small tax, mainly just to ensure we are able to keep the elevators working and functional. We don't gouge anybody here. That's not Sandro's way. You go into the next spiral. This is the temporary shops, the bazaar, the Casbah. Anything you think you could possibly want, you can probably find somebody who's set up a stall or a tent, and they're selling it there. Once again, none of them are permanent. They stay as long as they've got something to sell, and then they move on. You get past that ring, you get up into the second spiral, where you look up, you see all those permanent structures, all those wood and stone structures. That's where the permanent residents of Sandro live. That's where the official shops are. That's where you find the bar, the smithy and weapon emporium, the general goods store, the alchemist, the inn. Then you go to the very middle of the shell. That's where you find the monastery. The monastery of the Mage priests of Sandro. Group of mentalists and animists who look after Sandro, look after his dreams, help guide him, help enforce Sandro's will. You don't ever see them. They live within the monastery and they spend almost their entire lives themselves asleep, dreaming their magic into Sandro. But don't think they're unguarded. There are 4 protectors who live at the monastery. I've never seen them up close, and I've been here for 60 years. Most say they're like shadows, masked warriors with unusual weaponry. There's even rumors that they might be related to Sandro, that they themselves are some sort of band of 4 anthropomorphic turtles that protect Sandro. Can't say that I've ever seen one close, but anyone who goes into the monastery with ill intent, they never come out whole again. The monastery is a law unto itself. Next to the monastery there at the center, well, that's where I live. That's where the constable's office is, and my residence is above it. I don't have a jail per se. We have stocks in front of the constable's office. That brings us to the law itself. You have a minor infraction here while you're staying with Sandro. You fail to properly pay for goods. You get yourself in a barroom brawl. You have a drunken episode in the street. Well, we understand these things happen. You find yourself in the stock at that point, depending on how bad your offense was, anywhere from a few hours to a couple of days. Thing is, though, all your goods are put around you. Everybody on Sandro is therefore legally obligated to take everything you own. By the time you're done in the stocks, you will walk away without a stitch of clothes and without a penny to your name. Unless you have friends. As long as you have a friend standing with you in the stocks, nothing you own can be stolen. That way we make sure people make friends when they're up here on Sandro. But if your friend sits down, falls asleep, or walks away, you are fair game. So don't find yourself in the stocks alone. I'm sure none of you would do that, though. Now, you find yourself in a little bit more of a criminal intent. Let's say you murder somebody, but justifiably, perhaps, or you commit true robbery. You beat somebody, you assault someone in a way that's unacceptable, you use illegal magics against others here. Well, Sandro does not like that. So you're brought before the stocks, and Sandro drips his consciousness into your mind, and you forget Sandro ever existed. You forget everything about your experiences here, and then you are banished. You will never again find Sandro, even if you are standing right next to Sandro. You will never again be allowed to set foot on the shell. Then, of course, the last thing is of truly heinous acts. I figure y'all are intelligent enough to understand what truly heinous acts are. I'll be clear with you. You're just plumb going to get executed and thrown off the side of the shell. Now, here in the Misty Vale, we've found that we've been followed by the Sisters of the Gallows. They're the House of the Corpse Rose. And they'll come along and they'll take up your body and, well, they'll do with it whatever they want with your body and your spirit. That's not my never mind. But you will be dealt with. So that's the law, Sandro. That's the layout of Sandro. Welcome to Sandro. Is there any direction I can point you to? Anything you might be interested in seeing?
Clara's just been munching on her freely taken candied apple, listening to the rolls, and she's like, nope, I think we're just gonna wander around, I think. But nope, all the rules make sense to me.
The Professor digs her up. So he's like, well, actually, we do need to go to the alchemists. And Constable Roscoe goes, well, that's not a problem. You walk between this here line, between these two carnival tents. You just keep going straight through the bazaar, and you'll be on the main street. You just hang a left, and 2 buildings down. That's where you're going to find Ko Hong's Alchemy and Natural Medicine Shop. Can't miss it. Got a sign out front, not everything. Professor Diggs looks back at you and he's kind of nodding as if to say, you guys, shall we get going?
We'll take you there, Professor.
So you start making your way through, and we're gonna cut back for a minute, back to the balloon. Back to Dionysus and Absu. Most of the people have dispersed. Every once in a while somebody walks by and there's a little bit of a looky-loo, or somebody points up at the balloon. But you see, slowly making their way, and you see as they're making their way towards you, everyone around them scatters. A group of 7 people, two columns, and then one person in the front, dressed in these head-to-toe gray robes with hoods over their faces pulled down. And they're slowly walking stately. And the 2 in the back have censers that are just sort of swaying. And there's a almost sickly sweet smell coming off of them as they approach.
Hey, Absu.
Yes.
I have another question for you. And this has been going on for a while.
Yeah. I perhaps have answer.
So, do you have yarn balls in your dimension?
We did once upon a time. Remember, my world was destroyed by demons horrifically. And they are here on Earth, this world, to destroy your world as well.
Yes. So you had yarn balls at one point in time. Do you like yarn balls now?
I like books. I use string yarn as bookmark.
You could also have a ball in a book, no?
No.
Too bad.
And as this conversation comes to a close, these 7 people stop, and the one in front walks another 5 feet closer. So they're about 10 feet away from where you're at the basket now. And you hear a soft, husky, feminine voice. May I speak with those who were brave enough to travel in such an unusual conveyance?
Yes, how can we assist?
You like our balloon?
I am intrigued by those who are brave enough to travel through the sky in this manner. And as she says that, she undoes the clasp of her gray cloak, and it falls down to the ground and puddles around her feet. And it is a striking woman. You wouldn't necessarily call her beautiful, although her features are beautiful. There is something very cold and angular about the look of her face. She has very dark amethyst eyes and long black hair. And she went from wearing this, completely form-covering gray hooded cloak. And as she drops it, she's wearing this skin-tight black leather armor. And she has what looks like a cat of 9 tails on one side and a very long dagger on the other. And she goes, I am Sister Celine of the Sisters of the Gallows, of the House of the Corpse Rose. And I have an interest in those who are truly brave. I would ask, when your friends return, seek us. We are in the large black caravan at the rear of the train. We may have tasks that may interest such adventurous people as you. And with that, she just turns and walks away. 2 of the other cloaked figures scurry up, grab up her cloak. They spend about 5 minutes dusting dirt off of it, making sure there is absolutely nothing on it whatsoever. And then they all scurry back and catch up to her. And then once again start walking in this stately procession as she makes her way back through the train.
Hey, Absu.
Yes.
I have a question. Do you think that suit is breathable, or do you think she's sweaty?
What do I know about flesh suits? I have fur. I don't know flesh bags.
Oh, that's fair.
And go ahead.
But Absu would be. I want to do like a myths and legends roll to see what I know about them.
Yeah, give me
or
whatever
else.
I think myths and legends is probably the best. I would say with a Bane though.
Okay. 1 Bane coming up. Succeeded. I rolled a 6 and a 13.
So you don't know a lot about the House of the Corpse Rose. You've never heard anything specifically about the Sisters of the Gallows, but you have heard about the House of the Corpse Rose, at least rumors. The rumors are that it was an ancient organization of women who were worshippers of death, and that at some time, maybe centuries ago, their worship of the death rites. I mean, they basically were in charge of funerary rites for their people, but that changed over time. And instead, they began to actually worship death itself. And then they began to worship the life outside of death. And the rumors you've heard is that the elder sisters of the House of the Corpse Rose are powerful necromancers
would that be something that Absu is someone who absolutely hates demons?
You would hate demonology, absolutely.
Okay,
but necromancy would be undead are always of a bit of a concern. They're considered a plague by most, sane kin and peoples.
Okay.
But there are also, there are rites within necromancy that can be used for positive means, like healing, resurrection. So, there are aspects of necromancy that are not inherently evil, but it definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Okay.
And then we find ourselves back on the shell of Sandro. And you're making your way. You've made your way through the first 2 layers of Sandro, and you've seen a lot. Through the carnival section, the entire time people were coming up to you and like, "Come on, come all, see the most amazing show!" Or, "Oh, you, sir, frog person, you look like you would be an amazing fighter. Come to the fighting pits. Test your mettle against our fighters. We pay top dollar." This is the kind of stuff you get the entire time you make your way through that layer.
Can we go, Stormhand? Can we go?
We have business. We can return later.
But fine, all right. Okay, maybe later.
The fight champion goes, "Anytime. We operate 24 hours a day here. If you're on the shell and you want to fight or you want to watch a fight, come on to the very back. It's the cage fights are back there. Worth the admission."
Why are you fighting cages?
No, we fight in cages. That way you don't fall off the shell.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay.
So come on, come all. Bring your children. It's an amazing show.
Oh, I don't have any kids. No tadpoles for this guy. Nah, I'm a bachelor through and through.
Well, there are
I've
plenty of
sworn
people
an oath
around
to
who...
this fella. Just smashes Stormhand as hard as he can on the back.
You're supposed to protect me, get up.
I am loosening up the back muscles,
And when that happens, Stormhand, you feel a tug on your arm from lower, and you see you've never seen anyone like this, but it looks like a rat person. Looking up you. If your friend breaks your shoulder, I got a nice healing tent over there. Come on by. I can put you right as rain again. Well, all right then. I like it.
I think he was talking to you, Stormhand. It's kind of rude. To not say anything to you.
You're the only one whose shoulder almost got broken by the frog, but I just assumed you didn't like to talk to rats. But
not at all, little one. I'll return if it's not healed in the morning.
Fantastic. I can fix you up for just a little coin. And you hear this kind of hawking the entire time.
Okay. Hey, what do you mean by right as rain?
It's an old expression.
Oh, does that mean like when it's not raining, something's wrong?
Well, yes, everything dries out and cracks and people suffer and there's not enough food, there's not enough water. I would think an amphibian such as yourself would respect how horrible it is when there's not enough moisture to go about.
I like the cut of this guy's jib. I don't know what that phrase means, but I heard a few people use it. And it means... I don't know what it means, but I think he can fix it. He seems like a smart one, is what I'm saying.
New friend.
Absolutely.
I have a question for you.
Oh,
you said you do healing.
Yes.
Do you also do dentistry, as she's like double fisting candied apples?
Dentistry? Oh, for the teeth? No. That's a specialist. But between you and me, and I will give you this information for free because I'm sure I will see all of you again. If you go to the alchemist shop, Ko Hong, he apparently is an adept healer and at dentistry.
Good to know. Good to know.
We're headed there now. What do you know about him?
Oh, he's a quiet fellow, an elf. Long mustaches, which I've never seen on an elf before, but he keeps mainly to himself, and he spends all of his time researching. He loves inventing things. So, but he's a very good healer, very good as well, and has a good stock of supplies. I can't imagine how much he must spend on raw ingredients alone, but they bring him to him every time Sandro stops.
Wait, raw ingredients, like what's like he's gonna cook them or something?
No, for his alchemical concoctions. He makes all sorts of potions and brews and unguents and pastes.
Right. Okay. So people bring him stuff, and he makes things with them.
People bring, interesting ingredients to him, and they sell them to him. He's got several foragers that basically are full-time employees of his. Every time Sandro stops, they're either coming up to bring him more, or they're going back down to scatter across the countryside to find interesting things to bring back to him.
Does that pay good?
I expect that he pays quite well. He seems to have a bottomless coffer of coin.
What did he say?
He's rich.
Oh,
rich.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, he is rich.
Got it. Well, hey, we're headed there now, so maybe, we'll talk to him. Maybe we can go fetch some things for him or something,
He's
Thanks.
always looking for things, so.
Aren't we
And
all,
There are there's plenty of work to be found here on Sandro if you're looking particularly. And again, I'll give this to you for free because I'm sure one of you are going to come back injured, need some help from me. Go to Munden's bar. That's where all the adventurers go. That's where the job boards are inside the bar. Ask for Bob. Munden went through the back door and never came back. But Bob is running Munden's bar now.
Short friend, I don't think we caught your name.
Oh, my name? My name is Gunk.
Oh, that's a great name. That sounds really like...
I am the 15th in my line. We trace back to an ancient world where my great ancestor ascended to godhood, or at least that's what the legend says. But
legends are never wrong, so
never wrong.
Never. Hey, you said Mundens went through the back door and what was that?
He went through the back door of Munden's bar and never came back. I don't quite understand it myself. That's just what I've been told.
Wait.
So I don't make enough coin to get a permanent residence here, so I'm up and down off of Sandro quite a bit.
Okay, so we shouldn't go in the back door either, because then we would disappear.
Oh, I don't think it has a handle anymore. I'm unsure of how it works.
Wait, they left the door, but people keep disappearing? Shouldn't they wall it up or something?
No. Munden, I think, Gordon Munden, I think, is the only one who disappeared through the door. But when he went through the door, he took the door handle with him. At least that's what I've heard. I don't actually know. I've never seen the back door.
Okay, it was good information. This is really good information. Thank you. So
I think maybe if we go look at it ourselves, it'll make more sense.
That
if
makes
we can see it.
Yeah, I'm more of a visual learner, so that makes sense.
Well, tell Bob that Gunk said you're okay, and he'll give you the lay of the land.
Thanks, Gunk. And he slaps him in the back really hard.
And he goes rolling for about 20 feet, and then he unrolls, shakes himself off. He's covered in a bit of dirt, but that doesn't seem to bother him for some reason. And then he scurries back and he just waves at you. Professor Diggs is looking a little impatient, but he respects you guys, so he's like, oh, shall we go on? Shall we go on to the alchemist now?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. So you make your way through the bazaar, and there are stalls and tents. You guys see weapons, and you see people repairing boots. I mean, every kind of good and service you can imagine is taking place in the Casbah or the bazaar that surrounds the inner layer that goes right up to the back walls of these buildings that are the next circle of Sandro. And all of these buildings are about 3 stories tall. And from what you think is probably the businesses or the first couple of floors or the first floor, that the residence of the individuals is probably the top floor. But as you make your way in an alley between 2 of the buildings, you look to the left as you circle around, and you can actually see the sign just 2 doors down of Ho Kong's Alchemy and Natural Medicine. And Professor Diggs kind of almost breaks out into a little run as he runs up to the door.
Chase after him.
Door opens, bells ring. As soon as you move through, you're just hit with all these exotic smells. Things you can't even identify. There are herbs and hanging from the rafters. All of the walls are lined with jars that have different either ingredients in them, or some of them have odd items in them. And then right in the middle of the shop, you see this tall, gaunt elf. And he's standing behind, it looks like a work desk, and he is using a moron pestle to grind something up. And he looks up, and you do see he's got these very long white mustache that almost goes down to the floor. But other than that, he's wearing very workaday clothes. I mean, he's clearly not. They're not bad. They're excellent workmanship, but they're very plain. He's clearly focused on his art and nothing else. And he looks up, and he's got sparkling sapphire color eyes. Well, I must confess that I have never seen such an interesting group of people walk into my shop at one time. What can I do for all of you? Professor Diggs interrupts really quickly. My name is Professor Oscar Diggs, and I sent one of my mechanical pigeons, my clockwork pigeons, to you a few weeks ago about an unguent that I had requested that I was told you could make. And you see that the elf starts nodding his head immediately. He's like, oh, yes. I'll be right back. And you see him walk back past sort of a beaded curtain towards the back of the shop. And you hear some rustling noises. And about 5 minutes later, he comes out, and he's got these 2, looks like ceramic canisters that are hooked together. And they've got some sort of mechanical contraption on the top with a hose coming out of it. And some sort of, looks like a spigot or a spout of some kind that you might see in a fancy kitchen. And he stops, he puts it down in front of Professor Diggs, and he goes, "There's these canisters. If you spray your balloon with the material in these canisters, it will dry within a few moments, and then you will be fine. What you described will never rupture. Actually, I want to see that. Let me do this for you. You do have the payment, don't you?" And you see Professor Diggs actually pulls out a cask that you guys didn't even realize he was carrying. And he opens it up, and he pulls out 2 small jars. And Ho takes them, and he looks at them, and you see his eyes glow. And Stormhand, you feel a prickling of magic. But not a magic that you're familiar with. A school of magic that it's sort of grazing along your magical senses, but it doesn't taste or feel like anything you're familiar with. Not animism, not elementalism, not mentalism, but something. And then he goes, "These."
I use sense magic on it to get what kind of magic it is?
Absolutely may. But it's going to be with a bane.
It's one of the magic tricks. I don't know if I roll for it.
Let's double check sense magic. So you spent your willpower. So yeah, with your sense magic, you sense the magic, but you sense that it is from a school of magic that you're not familiar with, and it seems to have to do with the manipulation of matter, direct manipulation of matter, but not like not in the grosser sense of elementalism. At a micro level, you're feeling things shift around in such small quantities. And it's such you don't even have the words to frame what you're understanding here. All you can tell is that this is definitely a school of magic that you're not familiar with, that has to do with the interactions of materials.
Those jars make my throat itch.
Well, I can understand that, sir. Clearly, you are a practitioner yourself. If you have more time on Sandro, and perhaps we can make an arrangement where I could show you a few things. But for now, let me tuck these somewhere very safe. And you see, he goes back behind the beaded curtains, and he's gone for much longer at this point. And then he comes back out, and he has two. At first, you think they're humans with you, but as they get closer, you see they don't actually have features. They just have the suggestion of features. And although they're wearing workman's clothes, they appear to just be made of clay. But they pick up the canisters, and Ho says, "Please allow me to go back. I will apply this to your balloon. I just want to see it, and I want to see you take off in it." And Professor Diggs and Kohong just kind of fall into this conversation, and they make their way out of the shop. And then once you guys all make your way out of the shop, he locks the shop. And then once again, Stormhand, you feel that weird magic as he clearly places some sort of ward, but it almost, to your senses, it feels like he sealed the building. Like there is no longer an entrance to this building anywhere. Like he's just made it whole, like a whole block. Well, shall we go to this amazing balloon?
Could Galahop, he's a security guy. He just wants to make sure everything's on the up and up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you roll some sort of check to see if this alchemist fella's on the up and up? He wants to massage some sort of lotion into the balloon himself, and it's getting a little personal here. So
if you're trying to determine whether or not he is being truthful, I would say awareness is probably your way to go. If you're trying to determine if he is, if you're trying to spot something that he did, then that would be spot hidden. Either
he wouldn't be looking for anything from he doesn't know. Stormhand handles the magic. He's just trying to secure everything. So he's just trying to get a sense for, is this guy trying to, is he trying to pull a fast one on us? That's a 10 under an 11. Look at that. Awareness. I do.
He is. You could detect while he was speaking that he was incredibly excited about whatever it was that Professor Diggs gave him. Like whatever you can tell that whatever Professor Diggs gave him, he considers to be worth dozens of times more than what he gave Professor Diggs. So he's very excited to have that. He also seems genuinely very excited to see this balloon. And you get the sense that he wants to see his creation work. He wants to see this in action. So you don't get any duplicity out of it.
Okay. So I guess all he would probably whisper to Stormhand, like, this guy's giving me kind of a weird vibe. Yeah. I don't know. He might have just swindled our professor friend. I don't know. Just keep an eye on him, Just keep an eye on him, just in case.
Yeah, right. I'm watching him.
Like, you know what? Yeah, you know how you can kind of have like the one eye on the one side of your head and then the other eye on the other. Just make sure the one eye on the one side of your head is always on this guy. That's all I'm saying.
And as they start to walk back down that alley, Clara, you smell the most delicious aroma coming from the building next door. Describe to us what Clara's perfect meal would be.
So I would say this is very mood based for her. So she just had at least 1.5 candied apples on the way over. It's possible that when there's the half of the other one left that she might have offered it to Galahop. Maybe, might not have. But at this point now, she is thinking savory. So she just sort of like had her fill of sweet. And so now she's thinking along the lines of something like a stew, something meaty, something with some gravy. Like that's definitely what she is like currently thinking. And had she just had something savory, she would have said some sort of confection.
And that's kind of what you're smelling. You're smelling a very rich, thick gravy, well seasoned. You're catching the sense of some sort of exotic meat under it, but it's making your mouth water, and maybe a hint of pastry, and then the sharp, crisp scent of a perfectly balanced hard cider coming from the building next door.
I do believe that before we take on such a trek as carrying these so heavy looking tanks, we should probably get some energy in us. I am following what's next door, new friend? What is next door?
Well, they've already gone. So Ko and the Professor Diggs and the two clay beings are already walking down the alley. Galahop and Stormhand may still be there with you, but as you turn and look, you see the sign for the Long Branch Inn and Restaurant.
Oh, our new friend left us already. Oh, Galahop, Stormhand, that smells delicious, does it not?
Your timing is perfect. We should have a meal.
You hungry?
Excellent.
We can get you some food. You hungry? You look a little. He's just like almost like a parent. Like, you okay? You all right? You lightheaded?
I'm starving. There's not much in that air balloon.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir, the candied apples were quite delicious, but not a lot of energy in them. I've already lost it.
I mean, there's a lot of sugar, like you're probably gonna crash. It's like the natural sugars, and then that's all I really know. So yeah, let's go get some food.
Okay.
So you approach. It's got a porch out front, and then it's got like 2 swinging doors. And as you push your way through on the right-hand side of this building, and I mean, you just walk the length of this building. It seems longer when you're inside it than it did outside. But along the right-hand wall is a very long mahogany bar with brass fittings on it. And then along the wall is just racks and racks of, looks like liquor bottles and the like. The immediate floor is tables, and you see there's several people in there. They're all eating and talking. Along the left wall are more secluded booths that you could go into and draw a curtain. And at the very back of this unusually long building, you see a stage set up. Currently, there is no one on it, but there are winding stairs on either side of the stage that go up to the second floor. And you can see a walkway around the second floor, and it looks like there are rooms up there, possibly for rent. Behind the bar, you see a striking red-haired halfling woman. She's standing well above the bar, but as you walk in, you can see she's got an elevated floor that comes off of the bar, so she could step up to it and walk along the bar. she looks over at you when y'all walk in. She gives you a big wink. She says, "Come on in. There's plenty for everyone." And this is what she looks like. So what can I get y'all?
Oh, a bowl or 3 of whatever smells so wonderful.
Oh dear, aren't you the sweetest? Well, it's not exactly stew. It's my famous meat pies. But instead of having a pastry across the top, I put mashed potatoes on top, and it is delightful. I serve it with a side of russet potatoes, and a delicious apple cider is what I recommend. But we have anything you might want to drink.
I need whatever you said as soon as possible.
Well, absolutely. I love a hungry individual. My name's Miss Kitty. This is my establishment. Have not seen your faces before, so I assume you're new to Sandro. Everyone eventually makes their way into Miss Kitty's Long Branch Inn. So,
You've just arrived. I am Stormhand.
Stormhand, it is a pleasure to meet you.
Clara.
Clara, likewise, a pleasure.
Yeah, how you doing? I'm Sir Galahop. I'm this guy's right hand man. Right.
Excellent. Always good to have a right-hand man at hand, I suppose. So, pull up a table, anyone that's open, and I'll bring out 3 meat pies.
Galahop goes and gets a table and drags it to the bar.
Well, no. You can leave the table there. Just you go to the table and sit there.
You told me to pull it up.
It was a figure of speech, dear.
All right. I'll pull it back then. So
Thank you kindly. So you sit down, and she brings. She goes back into the kitchen, or sends a servant around to get your drink order. And as that's going on, we are going to fade out of the Long Branch Inn for a moment, and we are going to find ourselves back with Dionyse and Absu. As you see approaching the balloon, Professor Diggs, a tall elf with very long mustache and worker's clothes, and 2. At first, you think they're humans, but clearly they're automatons of some sort as they get closer to you. And Professor Diggs is like, did you manage to get your wagon off?
Yes.
Excellent. This gentleman here is the alchemist, Ko Hong. He's going to treat the balloon for me, and then I'll be about my business. Are your friends coming back with you?
I thought they were with you.
Well, they seem to have stayed behind. But nevertheless, I will give you their payments.
Yes.
And just make sure that you ensure they get their fair share.
Yes.
I will give it to Absu, I believe. So
Absu will do. Yes.
You guys pull off, and you see this elf. He pulls out this strange set of canisters, and begins applying this. And he pulls this hose up, and this stream of liquid strikes out, and you can just see it starting to coat the balloon. And it takes him about an hour as he's walking around, slowly coating the balloon. But once he's done, he takes out a hand crossbow and fires it directly at the balloon, and it just bounces off. Well, it looks like the elixir worked perfectly. So, Professor Diggs, if it's all right, I would just want to see you take off in this contraption. Professor Diggs nods his head. Is there anything that Absu or Dionyse wants to say to Professor Diggs? He hands out 5 sacks of gold. 1 to Dionyse, the other 4 to Absu, each having 10 pieces of gold in them.
Thank you for your patronage and allowing us to accompany you. And I hope that we meet again.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I truly hope so too. Oh yes, of course, Miss.
Can I carry some of the bags?
If I get tired, yeah.
Oh yes. Well, you don't want to strain yourself.
This is my workout right now.
Oh well, it's always good to take a break, like every 30 minutes.
Not right now.
So Professor Diggs gets on, buttons up, pulls the stakes out, begins to put a hot air in, and you hear Kohong shout up, "Professor, where were you going? You never told me." And Professor Diggs says, "A great green glass city." And then he speaks another word in a language none of you are familiar with. You believe it's the name of the city. And as he's dwindling away, Kohong shouts out, "Your translation is bad. You seek the Emerald City." And you see the balloon fly off into the sky.
Hey, I hope he was able to hear you.
I am sure he will be fine. That professor is a very smart man to have devised such a contraption.
Where is the Emerald City?
Oh, it is a land far away from here. Some say beyond the skies, beyond where the birds fly. It's an old legend, but if anyone can find it, I am sure he will find it. It is said to be paved, a great road leading to it paved in gold.
Fascinating.
Really? That's amazing. I wonder if there's any, shoe contraptions that help get there.
I do not know. My understanding of the legend is not that great. I have read some of it, but, scholars, we find interesting things everywhere we go. I'll be returning to my shop now, so, but you'll feel free to, Sandra will be here for at least another 9 hours before they move on, so feel free to enjoy the tortoise or the wagon train. It was a pleasure to meet you all.
Kohong, I have a question.
Oh, of course. What can I do for you?
When did you last see our friends?
When we were leaving my shop. I was placing my wards on my shop, and instead of following us, they turned, and I think I saw them out of my corner of my eye going into the inn, the Long Branch Inn.
Then I might follow you back to your shop.
Absolutely. And he marches off. Because he pulls out a little notebook and he's starting to jot notes in it. You get the impression that he is fully focused on his craft, and these two clay golems are just watching his back because he appears to be not. And every once in a while they'll reach out and steer him if he starts to move off because he is clearly engrossed in his work.
How do we make one of those?
Oh,
and she's looking at the golems.
Very complicated alchemical process. You must first create a mold, and the mold must be mixed with diamond dust and scraps of adamantium, and then cooked within a clay shell. Volcanic glass must then line the interior of the shell. And then, of course, you must create the form using very special clays. Then you need a small fragment of black steel, which is quite difficult to get a hold of. And then, of course, you must speak the rites in the ritual, which takes approximately a month of absolute concentration. And then if everything works, you will animate your servant. It costs about 5,000 gold pieces in materials.
Abzu will have to save. Okay.
And with that, he actually chuckles a little bit.
Piggyback rights?
No, they do not. I would not touch them if I were you. They are very protective of me and of themselves. So just keep a short distance. They know you're with me, but do not make any aggressive actions.
Could Abzu bother you for one final question?
Absolutely.
And Abzu is actually going to show him her key that she has.
Mm-hmm.
Apsu was wondering if perhaps this is a key to a temple. That or maybe it's not. I'm not sure, but it's a place that is of great importance to the demons that destroyed my world.
Very interesting. Come to my shop tomorrow. I'll have more time. I will see if I can do some research this evening, and see if I can. It is tickling a memory of mine. So definitely, come see me tomorrow morning, and I will see what I can find for you. I love a good mystery.
Thank you.
Of course. In fact, I will trade my information for information of your magnificent race, because every time I find one of your people, they're very, very tight-lipped about who they are and where they come from. So we'll make a fair trade. If I have information, I will tell you, and then you can tell me of yourself and your people, and I will tell you about your key. Deal?
What deal?
Absolutely wonderful. And by the time this conversation ends, you guys are at the top of the elevator. You're given the same spiel from Constable Roscoe. And while he is explaining the inner workings of Sandro and the law, Kohong goes off to his shop. But he does direct you to the Long Branch Inn. And back in the Long Branch Inn, we find our three friends, two of them gluttonously eating meat pies, and Galahop. Is there anything you want to do? Anything you want to see? Here within the inn?
Galahop's making sure there's lean proteins. Like, do you have any, like, some fish? Some small fish? You know, something. I don't want to eat anything.
Miss Kitty goes, we do actually have we had a recent shipment come in of fish earlier this morning. I can cook you up one if you'd like.
Oh, it doesn't have to be cooked. It's fine.
All right. Do you want it filleted, or do you just want the fish?
Well, I don't want to trouble you, so just the fish is fine.
She goes, snaps her fingers. She goes, bring the large fish out for our new friend.
All right. This is a nice place. Like,
I do my best. I
go to places and they don't let you order a la carte. They get kind of angry when you don't go off the menu. So I appreciate the hospitality.
You're welcome, and you're welcome here. Sandro takes us to many interesting places, and we meet many interesting people. So I like to try to be as open to the new experiences as I can. In fact, you will find kin and peoples here on Sandro that exist nowhere else on this world.
That's really interesting. Like, what do you mean?
Where's Sandro even going?
Where is he going? No one actually knows, but he's been going there for a millennia. He travels where he chooses. I mean, the mage priests, they have a way of influencing him to a certain extent, but in truth, he goes where he wants to go. The only thing we know for sure is when he is going to transition from the now or the real to some other real. We get a vision of that. And then if you want to leave, you can. He never takes us any place where we are going to be harmed. But you'll understand. As long as you stay in Sandro's good steading, after you leave Sandro, all you need to do is concentrate on him again, and you will feel the pull to wherever he is, whenever he is, and you will always be able to find your way back, though it may take some time. Which is why exile from Sandro is such a horrible, horrible thing to happen.
So, like... I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
What? No, I said, do you go ahead?
Oh, Miss Kitty, we were hearing about bars and back doors, but that's not your bar.
No. You're talking about Gordon Munden's place. Munden's bar, it's across the way, completely across the way. So you would go around. Obviously, you can't go through the monastery. You could go through the courtyard, and if there's anybody in the stocks, well, I think probably Roscoe's already explained all that to you. But just right on the other side, you'll find Munden's Bar. But sounds like you already know that Gordon is no longer running Munden's Bar, at least not for the moment.
Right. So there was a door and there's still a door, but he was
there is a door.
He's
yes,
not there.
Behind his bar, there's a great red door, and it used to have a handle. And one day, Gordon said that he was tired and he was going home. I happened to be in the bar at the time. He turned to Bob and he said, "Bob, I'm tired and I'm going home." And he opened the door and he walked through, and then he pulled the door handle through the door as he was closing it, and that was the last we saw of him.
Does anyone know where he was from? Does anyone know where home was?
He said the name of the city he was from once, but he said the city was the size almost of a world, or was a world itself, or it was encompassed by many worlds. He said it went by many names, but he called it Cynosure.
And no one wanted to go see this place and make sure that your barkeep was okay?
Oh, I mean, a lot of people were interested. Almost everyone in town, I think at one time or another, has tried to figure out how to open the door. There was even a great raffle for it. There still exists, probably. There must be 100 gold pieces in it by now in the pot for anybody who can figure out how to open the door.
Don't say.
Indeed. But no one, not even... The mage priests have not engaged in it. Obviously, they sleep the entire day away. But even Kohong, he went and took a look at the door and tried to find a way to unseal it. And his magic is all about the sealing and unsealing of things. And he could not. He said there must be a special trick or a special item or icon that would allow the handle to be pulled back through the door. That was his best guess, but no one has ever found it if such a thing exists. Bob may know more about it, but he rarely talks about Gordon anymore.
Bob?
Bob is running Munden's Bar now. He was the bartender, and now he is the de facto owner, I suppose.
Interesting. And also wanted to just ask you, if we were to go through the courtyard and someone were to be in the stocks and they did not have a friend with them in the stocks, we are not stealing to take what is around them?
You're required by law, if you go near the stocks and someone is there, to take something, at least something from them. You can take everything they own.
Law.
Yes,
to take something.
Part of their punishment in the stocks is if they have no friends to guard them, to be left penniless and without a scrap of clothing, so that they can earn the trust of Sandro again, as a babe might earn Sandro's trust. Generally speaking, I mean, the few people that we've found that way, normally we take them in and give them some food after their time in the stocks and give them a bit of clothing and, enough coppers to survive and send them on their way to make enough money to come back to Sandro. Usually it only takes one trip in the stocks to make people really respect the rules around here. And Constable Roscoe is an eminently dangerous individual. No one has ever been able to get past his guard.
Understood. Well, it is good to know that we would not be doing our legal duty to take things if we were to go. And she sort of looks to Stormhand and Galahop. If we were to go through the courtyard, we must show our interest in following the laws of this place.
You want us
Absolutely,
to steal stuff? Is that what you're saying? Just say you want us to steal stuff. That's what it sounds like you want us
to do.
Well,
it's not stealing. It is the legal appropriation of another's goods. If you steal, that's when you actually get put in the stocks.
Yeah, but to have items to trade, it is an opportunity.
Indeed it is. And that's what Sandro is all about, creating opportunities for those who can live in harmony with Sandro.
Yeah, so I got a question. So this whole, there's these mage priests who are sleeping, and they're communicating somehow with Sandro, all that sort of thing, right? Like,
Indeed.
Okay.
I mean, that's my understanding. That's how it was explained to me when I first came here. Never seen it, but yes.
And who explained that to you? Was that Roscoe?
Constable Roscoe. He's been here longer than anyone else, except for perhaps the mage priests.
So, like, has anyone like actually talked to the mage priests or nothing? Anything like that?
I am not. My understanding is that Sandro obviously speaks with him. I also believe that if you truly wish to speak to one, all you need to do when you're falling asleep is to burn a special herb and concentrate as you're falling asleep on the idea of Sandro, and you will find yourself in Sandro's dream. And once you're there, you'll find the mage priests.
Oh, that's really good. Hey, what kind of herb was that? Is that like oregano, or is it a different one?
I don't think it's that common. You'd have to ask Ko Hong. He's the only one who might have it or might know what it is.
Yeah, I met that guy. Yeah, he seems squirrely, but I'll ask him.
He's very focused on his research. Always on his research.
So are there ever like openings for like extra mage priest hand thingies? Cause like this guy right here, he's like honestly, he's like the most powerful like wizard that I've ever seen. So I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to get Sando to like wherever it is he wants to go, and they haven't been doing it all these years, I mean, maybe it's time to replace one or two of them with some new blood or some new brains. And if anyone's going to get it done, is this guy. And he slaps Stormhand in the back. It's really, really hard.
She leans over and she sort of whispers, she goes, "Dearie, there have been new mage priests who've gone within the temple. The thing is when you're preparing to cross the threshold, your head is removed from your body as part of a ritual, and the body dies, the head is taken within the temple, and that's the only part of the mage priests that continue to exist. But apparently they exist forever at that point. So I suppose if you're willing and strong enough to give up your corporeal essence, you could potentially join the mage priests. If this is something you wish to do, Mr. Stormhand, I would recommend trying to dream your way into Sandro's dream and speak with the mage priests about it.
I think I'm too young to lose my head.
No, man. Like, you're a lizard. You're gonna regrow your body. It's fine. Like, it'll take a little while, but I'll keep an eye out for you. Don't worry. I'll carry you around.
No, that's for our tails only, Yellowhop.
What? Oh, shit. Well, I feel really bad because, I thought it was like all of the appendages. Oh, man, I got some people to apologize to. Oh, jeez.
And as you're ducking your head down.
Head cutting off point might be when Ines and Absu walk in.
It's a little concerning, yeah. It's when Absu and Dionyse walk in at that moment. The doors flap open and you see your two companions. The two of you see your three friends sitting at a table eating a looks like a delicious meal. Galahop has just been given a large 12-pound raw fish. The rest are eating meat pies, and a very attractive halfling woman is standing at their table speaking with them.
Well, it would have been nice for them to have told us they were having dinner and come gotten us.
We followed our noses. Yes. We were right next door.
To whom? Not us.
She can get a pie for you, and Clara's got two pies in front of her. One of them is unyet eaten.
You want me to pull you up a table? I'm not actually supposed to do it. It's figurative.
And Miss Kitty turns. She goes, "No, that's all right. I'll just have one of my waiters pull up 2 chairs. How's that?"
I mean, I can get them. Like, it's real easy. It's like,
well, you enjoy your fish, sir. I appreciate the offer, but you're a guest of mine.
All right.
And if you all are here for later, after after the sun goes down, there'll be dancing. We'll move the tables back, and there'll be dancing, and we have a bard coming tonight to play. And if you decide to spend the night in Sandro, we have rooms for let as well. Or obviously, you can stay in the outer row with the traveling people. You can rent space in one of their tents.
No, I want to party. I really want to party tonight. How much for a room?
A room for newcomers. If you want to split a room, it would be 2 silver pieces apiece. If you want a room to yourself, it's 4 silver pieces.
I look at Absu.
We're supposed to go see the ladies.
Yeah, but there's a party tonight.
The ladies.
Yeah, there was some smelly rose ladies.
They're not. It was Sister Celine of the Sisters of the Gallows.
Oh, we heard
were
about
the corpse
them.
flower smelling ladies.
They had potential jobs for
Corpse
us
room.
to do.
Oh.
But
Well,
there is a party tonight.
Yes, there's also there's a yes, parties. Party sounds there's a lot of exciting things here that we could possibly do.
And it's at this point that Absu gets your guys' payment out and doles it out to you guys.
You guys
thank
are
you, Absu.
lucky that I was awake.
I am very
And-
sad.
I think it's well known within the group. Diane there's always just like, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, for me?
And as Miss
Thank you,
Kitty
Absu.
sees you doling out these, she goes, "Oh, looks like you had a payday. That's wonderful." Well, just for your information, since you're new to town, there's also a couple of doors down further. You'll see Hammer's Smithy and Weapon Emporium. He's a primary outfitter for adventurers here. Though you can find inferior goods with the traveling people, he is a master craftsman. And then obviously there's Twilly's Mercantile Emporium for other goods. Everyone around here always has things they need done for them, so don't be bashful. If you're looking for work, just tell people. And then I think probably you might have already heard, but Munden's Bar is where most of the factors and adventurers will go, and that's where most of the work gets discussed. But
And there's a secret door there.
Yeah.
And there's a gold in it for anyone who can figure out the secrets of the door.
You don't want to
money.
go in the back door, because if you go in the back door, you disappear. Unless you know how to get back out, and then you get paid
then you get
somehow.
the gold.
There's something about a
Then you get the
rattle.
gold.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes. And then she turns to Miss Kitty. Oh, we would both. What type of meal would you like?
A bottle of wine, and a boar.
I can bring you a boar steak or a leg of boar. Do you want an entire boar? That's quite costly.
I will survive on steak.
Okay.
Separate checks, please.
Absolutely. All right, so I will bring you a boar steak and a bottle of wine. And she pulls out a wine list for you, and it runs the gambit. I mean, there are some expensive wines here. What are you looking for? She goes, this is my best bottle. Well, not exactly my best bottle. It's the best bottle I serve in the front room. And it's 6 gold pieces.
What is very cheap and will get me very drunk?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That I have. She goes, that's just a silver piece. And she waves over, and they bring out this giant clay jug. And it doesn't even really have a label on the outside. It's just got a couple of numbers carved into it. She goes, I think that it's vintage, but well, please enjoy, dear. Your boar steak will be coming, and for you.
I will do. I believe the special is the meat pies.
Indeed.
Yes, please.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. So she goes off. She brings your orders out. She brings you this giant jug of vinegary wine. Dionyse, do you imbibe
Oh yeah.
all of it?
Well, until I pass out, I guess.
All right, give me a Constitution check.
All right. Let's see here. Oi, on the money.
Nice. So it churns in your gut a bit, and you're clearly intoxicated. I mean, you are very drunk, but you are not vomiting. So you're holding yourself together. And as you continue to drink and eat and discuss your plans, you hear someone up on the stage beginning to tune instruments and the like. You could see coming through the door that the sun is beginning to set and evening is beginning to come on. Is there anything you want to do this evening?
Let's dance and have merry.
Okay. Yeah. Were we gonna? Did we need to check in with like the professor? Is like he cool?
Oh, he's gone.
He left.
Oh, he's gone. Okay.
Our cart is out there.
Okay, so we're cool. Okay. What about that? The back? Are we gonna check out the back door, or are we gonna hang out here?
I wanted to run next door and ask him about the herb. That sounded promising.
Yeah,
well,
I
have an appointment with him in the morning if we just want to save it for then.
But like, we need it for when we dream. So like, if Stormhand wants to dream and take over control of Sandro, then like he's gonna need it tonight, you know?
Okay. Is that
I'll be
your
right
plan?
back. I'll just go ask him. It's right next door. You all just got here. Stay here. Sit down. Be comfortable. And she sort of looks to Dionysus, who doesn't seem like she's going to be getting out of her chair anytime soon. Just stay right here.
Hello.
I'll just run next door. I'll be right back.
Bye.
So as you make your way out and you make your way up to Kohong's, up onto his porch, there's no door in front of his building anymore. It's just a wall.
That's odd. She says to no one.
Then you hear behind you, ma'am, and it's Constable Roscoe.
Oh, yes, sir.
Mr. Hong, when he closes up shop for the day, he quite literally closes up shop for the day. You won't find him opening back up again until the morning. There may be a few folk here capable of getting in there, but very few, and that would be breaking some serious laws. And we know we don't want to do that.
Oh no, you made that quite clear earlier, the consequences of law breaking. I'm just curious, is it a feature of all architecture here that when you are open, there is a door, and when you are closed, the door is gone?
That's Mr. Hong's special hoodoo allows him to do that. He could seal things up and unseal things like nobody's business. Don't rightly know how he does it, but he does it every night. Likes to be safe and secure inside his home.
And even he couldn't figure out the back door to the bar.
You have been busy to hear those kind of rumors, but that's true. He went over there. Said it wasn't so much that the door was sealed. He said the door just wasn't quite really there without the handle. Doesn't make a lick of sense to me.
Do you think maybe he knew what happened, but he made some sort of deal with the man that he wanted to be left alone? So perhaps there is a solution and he just said there wasn't?
Could be. I mean, they were friendly of a sort, but...
They got along?
Well, most everybody up here gets along. If you don't get along, you don't stay for long, if you understand what I'm saying. But I would say probably... Ko is probably being as honest as he can. He focuses on his own style of hoodoo. Sometimes he gets baffled when he sees the elementalists throwing around fireworks or a mentalist, talking into somebody's mind. He just can't quite figure out how they're doing it. So I think it's less that he's hiding something and more that it's just something that he can't quite piece together in his head.
I see. Sometimes that happens. Your brain just works in one way and you're absolutely brilliant in that thing. But the other things that just don't seem to look quite right.
And I figure if he really put his mind to it and wanted to figure it out, he probably could, but he's always got his own projects to work on. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen the man spend more than 100 gold in a day on ingredients. I have no idea how much gold he has, but 100 gold pieces is nothing to that man.
Oh, the reward for figuring out the door open is 100 gold. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what it was. It was a pot. It was people are putting into a pot, and the person who figured out. I think you'd have to go into Munden's bar and see what it is. Now, people keep putting into it. New adventurers come in and say, figure they got a magic sword, they can pry the door open. They'll put in their 10 gold, give it a shot, or a single gold, give it a shot.
I see. That's what the single gold is. What you put in to pay for your chance. I see. Yes. So speaking of rules, public intoxication, does that fall on the spectrum of things that put you in the stock or worse, or is that just a night in the night here?
Being drunk on the street's not a big deal. Being drunk on the street and causing a commotion that upsets other people, well, that's a different story. Now, if you vomit all over the place on the street, you best clean it up or have a friend clean it up. Otherwise, you probably spend an hour in the stock. If you make a whole ruckus out in the street or strip off your clothes and run through the street naked screaming at the top of your head, well, that's probably going to get you a day in the stock. So it's kind of on a grading scale.
I mean, some places find that fun, but I suppose when here, then
we like to keep peace in the street. Now, Miss Kitty's got some rooms in her inn where you can do just about anything you can imagine. But out in the street, I like to keep it civil.
Okay. So once we're there and once we're imbibing, we should stay put for the evening and not make our way
Munden's
over.
is much the same. You can get yourself polluted drunk in there and just hunker down for the night, put your head on the table if that's what you want to do. Nobody's going to mess with you. But if you do stupidness in the street, well, I'll probably have to come talk to you.
Okay, well, that's very, very good to know. We were wanting to get everything we can out of our experience here, so we will keep that indoors.
Wonderful. Well, good evening there, ma'am. He tips his hat, turns, and as he turns, he kind of walks through a shadow, and you just don't see him anymore. He's just gone.
Well, doors that disappear and the law that disappears. Well, okay, she says again to no one. Comes back into the door.
So you see Clara come back in.
It appears that Mr. Quo next door has closed up for the night and will not be open again until the morning. And it also appears that once we have begun to imbibe, we should stay in the establishment where we started. This is not a place for the pub crawl. It doesn't appear.
Oh, jeez. All right. So we're
we
stuck
get to
here.
have a party.
And stay right here, because any intoxication out there could lead to time in stocks.
We get to party all night.
And as you say those words, party all night, the swinging doors open again. And you see a tall man, about 6 foot tall, a shock of short black hair, wearing blacksmith's leathers, walk in. He's got a scowl on his face, but the most unusual feature is both of his arms are elaborate clockwork arms. The most elaborate clockwork you've ever seen. I mean, you guys have seen some very basic stuff. Professor Diggs showed you his clockwork pigeons, but these are incredibly elaborate. And he's carrying an enormous sledgehammer in his right hand. He goes up, slams it on the ground, saddles up to the bar. And Miss Kitty, give me whiskey. It's been a hell of a day, and I've got all sorts of problems I have no solutions for. Miss Kitty goes to pour him. The music starts. People start moving some of the tables out of the way. You see some people start to move out and start to dance.
Absu awkwardly approaches the bar next to him. Mm-hmm. So I heard that you had difficult day and some problems.
He looks over at you, squints a little bit, like, I don't think I've met you.
I am new. My name is Absu. What is your name?
And you hear like this purring sound almost from his arms, almost as like these gears are just firing really quickly. And this black, it's kind of like a matte black arm. His hand comes up and he holds it out for you to shake. He goes, my name's Hammer. I run Hammer Smithy and Weapon Emporium. Friends call me Harry, though.
Well, I hope I can call you Friend Hammer one day.
Well, I hope so, too. Welcome to Sandro's.
Thank you for that. You sell weapons, you said?
I sell weapons. I sell weapons. I repair weapons. I craft weapons. I craft specialty consignments, mastercraft. I've been at this a long time.
So you are
weapons,
very talented.
Armor. I run a tight smithy.
You should meet my friend Galahop. His armor, very cool to see.
Well, have him come on over at some point. Forgive me, I'm pretty miserable company tonight. I had a shipment that I've been waiting on, supposed to get here today. Damn driver came running in as soon as we stopped, said they got waylaid or stopped in a cave overnight last night. Something came out. I don't know. Left the shipment behind. Too afraid to go back.
Oh, what stopped it?
Well, he said he thought it was a troll. But he said, he had 4 guards and the drover. They had moved the wagon into the cave mouth so it could be protected and sheltered for the night. Apparently something came out of the back of the cave, though they said they had searched it. Something came out, apparently killed the guards and the drover, and the driver ran off. Freed the horses, and they took off, and he tried to grab one, didn't make it. He just ran on his way to Sandro, but that's an expensive shipment of star metal that I've got sitting there in a cave that I've got to go figure out how to get. So my problems, nothing for you to worry about tonight. It looks like your friends are having a good time.
They are drunk, but perhaps that is the way that we go eventually. Which way is it?
Well, it was about a day's west of here, into the foothills a little bit. There's cave systems up there. He told me they parked in one of the caves. Poor kid was so worked up that after he gave me all the information, I had Co come over and give him something to help him sleep. He's crashed out in the back of the smithy. But I figure in the morning I'm going to try to get out there and recover my wagon before anybody else gets any bright ideas about taking that metal. Not that there's anybody else in 100 miles that can work star metal, but they don't know that.
That you're very talented.
And what does Absu know about star metal? Does they know anything?
Let's give a roll. Let's give me a crafting roll. Yeah, just a straight crafting roll.
I succeeded.
All
7.
right. So
exactly.
It's exactly what it sounds like from what you understand. From time to time, parts of the sky, the filaments themselves will fall to earth, and these great rocks will land and sometimes create horrible craters, but sometimes within the rocks there is metal that can be salvaged. And you know that there was a great skyfall a couple of decades ago, and there are some there are some prospectors that go out to this blasted plain and they just dig for these nodules and they try to reclaim the star metal from them. And then there's what you've heard is there's a smelter out there, a giant smelter, and they smelt these ingots, and then they sell the ingots to master smiths who can work the metal, to make these generally magical items are made from the star metal.
Very cool. Okay.
Okay, please do not forget, Absu. If you're heading out tomorrow, if you see us, you should call.
Well, you think your friends might be interested in a little recovery mission?
I will speak with them. I believe they might be interested.
Well, that would make my life a lot easier if you're willing to sign a contract to that effect. I've got several commissions that I did not want to spend a day or more putting the work off and try to go get that wagon, but I would definitely make it with your wild if it's something your friends would be interested in dealing with.
Yes, let you enjoy your drink. I will speak with them and I will be back.
All right. He continues to drink his whiskey. The dancing, the music grows louder. The dancing grows more frantic. Dionyse doesn't throw up, but she is making a spectacle of herself. And that's where we're going to end tonight, on the dance floor in Miss Kitty's inn, while you all learn a little bit more about Sandro, the mobile trading post. So thanks everybody for watching tonight. Thank you to my players for playing along with this silly and ridiculous town that I just love a good fantasy town. I just had to do it.
I mean, we are playing pretty grounded, serious characters. So.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
Nothing silly.
Really
Silly.
strongly.
I'd like everybody who's watching this, either live or on YouTube, I peppered this entire town with more Easter eggs than you can shake a stick at. Anybody who could comment on YouTube about if you can identify who these fictional characters are in other fiction. They all exist in other fiction. Every single character you've met, all of the different places I've talked about, they all exist in some other fiction. So feel free to comment on who and what you think these people actually are.
Look at Aaron farming engagement. I'm so amazing. I'm so proud of you.
It's ridiculous.
So good.
Help us.
So
I need help.
Fantastic.
I caught the Ninja Turtle reference.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles up top. Yeah.
I mean, obviously there were a couple of references to former characters and former games, so we had, so. But we shouldn't spoil it all. Let
other people find it. Let's let other people
fun. Oh, fun. Okay, let's do some close-up plugs. So, as is customary, I'm gonna toss it right back to you, Aaron, so you can tell us a little bit about what's going on Garblack Games.
Fantastic. Next week on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will find me in the narrator's seat over on Garblack Games' YouTube channel as we continue our Marvel Multiverse role-playing game playthrough of the Cataclysm of Kang. We are in Chapter 5. They are back on Earth 56438. Dan's character, the Eldridge Knight, walked in and voluntarily got himself captured, thinking it would be a good idea, and is now in a prison chair being force-fed porridge by a nanny, as everyone else tries to figure out how to save him. Hilarity will ensue. And then we go into a slightly more serious setting on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you will find Lewis jumping into the chair as he continues with The Forging of Small Dooms, his One Ring campaign, where he's got some Durin's folk and Nagra dwarves as they delve into Moria.
Very cool and very jealous. And considering what happened last night in Simber, maybe we'll play One Ring.
After next week, we'll all be dead anyway.
There's been a lot of people voluntarily just giving themselves over to villains. It's so interesting how that just seems to be a rash of things lately.
I know. It's like
it's happening so regularly.
When he did it, I couldn't believe it. He was like, I'm going to go get myself captured because then they'll take me someplace where other captured superheroes are and I can free them. I was like, dude, you've got no idea how bad of an idea this is, but I'm excited for it. I'm very excited. So
cool. Very cool. As for us over here, next stream is tomorrow. We're all very excited because we are back to playing our good friend Steven's game, Huckleberry. If you haven't heard about it yet, you will be. It is sweeping the nation international. It's really good and awesome, and you should come watch us play it. You should go to DriveThruRPG and get your own copy. And we have been playing through the Divine Comedy, which is going to be like the first of the scenarios I think Steven's planning to release for it. And so you can kind of see what we've been doing with it. Tomorrow will be our finale, as they decided they were going to kill the captain and the crew that are actually driving a steamboat. So that makes perfect sense. So everyone's going to be just fine. And that's tomorrow. It's going to be great. And then on Monday, we're playing something. I lose track of Mondays all the time lately. So we're going to be playing something on Monday. Tuesday, you can see the 4 people on this side of the screen. We're going to be playing some Star Trek. As Steven's been running us through Star Trek Adventures 2nd edition. It's been so much fun getting into Star Trek. So come check that out. And next Thursday, Simba Room, which incidentally,
TPK.
you guys realize like the week after is Pirate Borg. So if we do TPK, like the breaks, it's almost like a perfect time. Like look at that. It's like I planned it.
Yeah, and I don't know what we're gonna do for the last hour and a half. We're gonna
the first 20 minutes is gonna be really interesting, and then after
character creation, right?
Look, I don't know about your sort of defense, Aaron, but I'm pretty sure Jeremy and mine is both 16, which is a little bit harder to hit.
Yeah, but there's like 16 of them. They all have magic. And there's a master sorcerer in there.
I don't really need to hit that defense when I try to make maggots come out of your skin. I don't really need to hit your defense. That's why I love those things. It's gonna be great.
We'll throw Long's character at the magic users. He's got really good acrobatics.
Sure. Mm-hmm. At the other end of that table, that's like what 2 rounds of just running to get
flips and goes over there.
We should get your wizard friend Rowena. We'll just start countering all the magic. Melissa's been holding back this whole time, and now she's gonna whoosh. Suddenly she's Gandalf down in She'll pull out that staff and go, "None shall pass." Oh my god. Anyhow, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, we are going to be doing some Pirate Borg in a couple weeks. I think Thursday we're going to be doing it. It's in 2 weeks though. It's a ways out, so you'll hear about it before now and then. But National Talk Like a Pirate Day is coming up. We did a special one shot of Pirate Borg last year. Had a lot of fun, so we're going to do it again. Different crew because it's a different night. But you see a lot of the same folks, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to raid somebody. Unfortunately, our good friends Defenders are not up tonight, so we're going to find someone else. So let's see. Vampire. Let's do Vampire. So Folk and Myth. We're going to go raid Folk and Myth. They seem to be playing some Vampire. We like World of Darkness here. So follow the raid. Have a great rest of your night. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye-bye.